Hello, I'm Larry Gates in Nashville, Tennessee, and today I want to share a fascinating story with you. You might also call it a journey, or perhaps a venture, or maybe even a dream. Two brothers made a journey together, and one of them has authored a book entitled The Big Walk. I'll introduce you to one of the brothers in just a few moments. This journey reminds me of a time almost 30 years ago when I was the representative for a large company that sponsored two men on a journey of their own, a 25,000-mile trip in canoes on all of the major rivers of the United States. Well, today it's a journey or a venture once again, but this time a walk of 2,250 miles from Los Angeles to Nashville. Perhaps others have walked those distances before, but not pushing a 1,000-pound pushcart loaded with all of their musical instruments and personal belongings. These brothers were very talented musicians with an objective of walking all the way to New York City to perform on Jack Paar's nighttime television show. One of the brothers had performed earlier on the Ed Sullivan Show. How very appropriate and perhaps coincidental that this dream venture would conclude in Music City, USA, as Nashville is most commonly known to those in the music business in our country. Let me share this story with you now as I introduce my good friend David Balph. Thank you, David, for joining me here today.
Thank you, Larry, for having me come over and talk with you. It's going to be a lot of fun.
The Big Walk, a story, a book, but tell us just what is it, and perhaps what was in your mind over 40 years ago?
Well, it actually started about 47 years ago. My mother and I were watching the Jack Paar program on his NBC show he had on Friday nights. My brother was working with another group at the time, and we were kind of struggling in Los Angeles trying to keep the band going that we had. And my mother made this crazy comment at the end of the Jack Paar program. She said, if you two boys walked in New York City, I'll bet Jack Paar would put you on his show. Well, I didn't hit too hard at that moment because that just seemed so far out. But I remember walking into the kitchen and getting a glass of water, and it was dark in that room at the time. And all of a sudden a vision came right across my forehead of the two of us pushing a cart right down the center of Los Angeles on the way to New York City. And about, I suppose a half an hour later, after I got my mother all excited that I thought we were going to maybe try to do this, I called my brother, and on a break, I knew about when his break would be at the club he was working at, and I told him he needed to come home immediately, that I had an absolutely fantastic idea. He said, what is it? And I said, I'm not going to tell you till you get home. He says, well, I'm tired. I said, that's all right, you're going to be tireder yet when you hear what I'm going to tell you. But anyway, he came home after the job, and we talked 48 hours with no sleep at the kitchen table, me telling him what's going to happen. And it kind of blew his mind at first. But go ahead.
Well, it was certainly a very ambitious idea and dream that you had in your mind, but now a 1,000-pound cart that you were going to push?
Well,
how in the world did you build such a vehicle, if you want to call it that?
Well, I was the one that built it. I guess I'm a little more mechanical out of the two of us. Roger's a very good creator, and of course he's a little older than I am. He's 6 years older than I am, and at that time he was 29 and I was 23. I'm a little older than that now, as you can tell by looking at me. But I just went down to, we realized that we had to have a way to entertain the people in order to finance walking across the country. You got to eat, you got to sleep, you know, and you got to entertain. So we had to figure out a way to carry a band, because I play trumpet and trombone, and my brother plays 4 saxophones and 2 clarinets. And we can stand there and play in harmony, but you get pretty tired if you don't have a band behind you. So we had to get a band, and we did that by using tape-recorded music of some session work that my brother did with the orchestra that used to do the Dinah Shore show, the orchestrator for that show, a fellow by the name of Harry Zimmerman. Anyway, my brother flew up to Redwood City, California, and contacted the Ampex Corporation, which was a company that put many of the recording devices in all the studios around the country at that time. And I went down to Sears and Roebuck and got down on the floor and started figuring out how I was going to build this cart.
Where did you build this cart?
Right in the living room of my mother's apartment. We moved all the furniture, and I brought this gear home. In fact, there was people at Sears were getting a kick out of me because I was down on the floor cutting pieces. It ended up being 2 Sears and Roebuck luggage racks you put on top of a car, and we welded them together and went from there. It took me 2 months.
Your mother had to be a very patient and understanding woman to allow you to build that in her very home.
She certainly was. In fact, she was a champ. If it hadn't been for her, we never would have got out of town. And she even designed the signs that went on the side of the cart.
Did you have anybody else to help you in this journey at all, or?
We had some products donated for us to use, and there was a bookstore down at the corner that took care of the cost of printing the signs that went on the side of the cart. But actual financial help, no. We left Los Angeles with $100 in our pocket, and we didn't know where the first job was going to be. And what we thought was going to take 6 to 8 months to get to New York City took 3 years to get to Nashville, Tennessee. That's how involved it got.
Well, all of your belongings, all of your musical instruments on this cart.
Right.
And what were some of those musical instruments? What were some of the equipment pieces that added up to so much weight for you to push?
Well, let's start with the top of the cart. We had things on top and things underneath. The Ampex tape recorder and the 2 speaker systems that went with it weighed 160 pounds. We had 10 gallons of water. That's another 100 pounds. That's another couple 100 pounds. Then we had a tent, sleeping bags, Coleman stove, 2 shotguns, dog food because we had a dog on this trip, tools, extra tires, extra tubes. I mean, you name it. Then there was a bunch of incidentals, and we had 2 mailboxes, one on each side of the cart that we carried incidentals in. And, you know, snake bite kits, first aid kits, bullets for the pistols. We had pistols with us and 2 shotguns.
Pistols and 2 shotguns.
To take care of ourselves, to protect ourselves. And we knew we'd be camping out, which we did a lot of.